And we have a human crisis situation going on in Lomas del Poleo, which is a community and a parcel of land that's adjacent to Sunland Park. Big development plans over there. But in the process of this binational development, there's some human rights violations going on. So there's some human suffrage going on. 2 children have been burned in their homes. 2 adults have been assassinated. There's civil exploitation. There's civil injustice. There's a gated community with barbed wire and guard dogs and bats and guns and rifles, even though the weapons are outlawed in Mexico. Father Morton, who's here today, was the minister of that community, and his church was burned down. And now he's in El Paso, Texas, living because his life has been threatened.
I'm very happy to be here this morning, and I have to say I feel at home when I heard that beautiful prayer that was offered, which makes me realize that we are people are here who have faith. We believe in a higher power in one way or another. And what I heard as the core of that prayer is that public service is about creating communities of justice and peace. I'm not here to say anything against development. I'm not a politician. I have no financial interest in what happens in Lomas del Poleo or here, but I am interested in justice, in human rights, and that when you have development, everyone involved in the development finds a seat at the table. The reason that we came to you, you can see on the map that's up on the wall, that Lomas del Poleo sits right in the middle of a very huge multi-billion-dollar development project, which involves a lot of federal, city, state people, private developers, and that piece of land is just across from Sunland Park. Where the cursor is, that's Lomas del Poleo, and you can see the northernmost part of that fronts on New Mexico. So this is really an international piece of property. It's not just a piece of property that's a long distance from the U.S. So my involvement is that the pastor of the church in Anapra is part of my community, Columban Missionary Fathers, and my responsibility, we have 4 chapels, and the chapel that I took care of was on the Mesa, Jesus de Nazaret. So I had no knowledge of any land dispute or anything like that. I was just taking care of that community up there, and then lo and behold, one day the electric infrastructure was pulled out of the community. I became involved in the people's situation and just tried to support them and advocate for them. From that time, that was in May of 2003, there has been a program of low-intensity conflict to move the people out of there. The owners of Grupo Zaragoza, in my eyewitness experience and living and working with these people, every single thing that has been done is outside the law. It is illegal. It is outside the Mexican law, the Mexican courts. They have used violence, intimidation, rumors. They have systematically, through corruption and bribery, dismantled a community in Lomas del Poleo. And I think that's the greatest sin of all. After they took the electricity out, they sent up a group of vigilantes. The vigilantes were there for 3 weeks. The people formed a protest and went down to the city hall. The mayor sent the police that Friday. They arrested all of the Zaragoza paid guards. They were taken away. They came back on St. Patrick's Day, 2004, and they came in through the back around Santa Teresa, San Jeronimo, and at that point they set up what you see here. They got 1 square of land, and they made these white cement posts. They came on Wednesday. Saturday morning when we woke up, they had put these posts, sealed off the colonia, and they had armed guards there. The people tried to tear the fence down. There was violent altercations. The police consistently refused to intervene. The city government refused to intervene. And finally, they had watchtowers, and they put these big, huge metal gates, and you still had about 120 families living inside of here. In August of 2005, 4 men from the community confronted the vigilante group who were knocking down a house. In that altercation, Luis Guerrero was beaten, and he died 36 hours later. At that point, Governor Reyes Baeza intervened, and so did Governor Richardson from New Mexico. He called state security in Chihuahua. Again, they arrested the guards, but a couple of weeks later, they were back again. This picture is the last time the human rights group tried to go up to Anapra to meet with the people. This is what they were met with outside the gate. They wouldn't let them near it. This is a guy named Sergio. He's one of the head of the guards up there. This is some of the cholos that are inside the fenced-in area that monitor the people. This is the chapel, Oscar. It wasn't burnt down. It was knocked down by the paid guards of the Zaragoza, and we rebuilt it 3 days later, made it bigger and better. This is Manuel, whose house was knocked down. This is Luis Guerrero, who was murdered. These are the two children, Magdaleno and Carmencita, whose house was burnt down under very suspicious circumstances. And that last picture is just to show you up on the mesa where the mile marker is, that's how close Lomas del Poleo is to the port of entry. So in discussing that issue, anybody who says the port of entry and the binational development is not related to Lomas del Poleo, that's not true. That's Mr. Zaragoza, and that's Governor Reyes at the opening of a Walmart. And that last picture is just to show that a lot of these people know each other, and what we hope for is that there can be some influence between the people to stop this from happening. So if there's any questions to me, or if there's any questions, we have a whole group of people, both from Mexico and the U.S., who are well informed.
Commissioner McCamley.
Yeah, Father, I've been looking into this issue for the last 3 or 4 months, and I actually went and spent a pretty good amount of time talking with Senator Bingham's people, asking them about this. And their frustration was with the Mexican government. You know, Senator Bingham has been very active in the femicide issue going on down there, has passed resolutions, has talked with the people from the embassy and so on and so forth. Doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. They say it's the same kind of issue down here. I mean, I know we want to ask Governor Richardson to do something about this. This is a tragedy what's going on down there. What can be done to influence the governor of Chihuahua and the federal people to say, all right, look, you have a human rights issue right here. How are we going to deal with this as we try to move forward as a region together?
We have appealed to every level of the Mexican government. Dr. Soberanes, who is the head of the Federal Human Rights Commission in Mexico, himself was refused entry into that gated area. He made a report and sent a recommendation to President Fox asking that the federal government intervene, and there has been complete silence. I think part of the problem on the Mexican side is there's a lot of influence between people of power, people of wealth, and government officials. What I can see from the U.S. side is, if I'm going to be doing business with you, if I'm negotiating with you, if we both have something to gain, and I come to you and I say, you know, this is really a problem. This can put throwing a monkey wrench into the works. You know, the development really can't go forward if there's the perception that land is being acquired through violence, through intimidation, even against your own law. So I think there's a kind of just a human pressure that we can exert, an influence that we can exert, and we also have documents of, you know, binational agreements between the state of New Mexico and the state of Chihuahua. So there are some political agreements that are already in place, but finally I think knowledge of what is going on and letting it be aired in public causes someone who is inflicting harm on other people to restrain their hand, and that's our hope, that there won't be any more people harmed, and that the people who are still there will be treated with respect, and that there will be some just and peaceful path to dealing with the land conflict.
I understand, Father. I'm asking from the political situation, because it seems like the Mexican government is the one that needs to step out of the plate here, and the frustration has been with the femicides. Obviously, these women are getting killed. Obviously, that there has been a lot of attention put on. Not much has been done. Obviously, we have another situation here where people's human rights are being violated. My question is, I mean, through their organization, is the influence over there from these Zaragoza people too much, or what?
I think it's very strong, but I would go back to the idea, in the case of the femicide, those who are perpetrating that, we really don't want to have anything to do with them. We have no power or leverage to negotiate. In this case, there's a lot of interaction and relationship already between the Zaragozas, between developers in El Paso, between the governor.
How so, sir? See, this is the thing that I'm getting a little upset about, because I have spent 3 to 4 months. There have been accusations that developers in El Paso are involved with Zaragoza, and I have found not one set organizational connection there. There were some allegations that Eloy Vaina, who was on the board of the Verde Group, was mixed up with these guys. I have been asking a lot of people, can someone define one set organizational relationship?